and welcome everyone to another one of our fabulous Geek Talks with myself, your host today, James Denny, COO of Sales Geek, based out of Blackburn in the UK. And I am joined with a couple of amazing guests who I will get to introduce themselves in just 2 ticks. Purpose of our conversation today is to talk about life of being a geek. So what does it mean to decide that you want a different change of your life? You might be in corporate background, you might be a freelancer, you could be in all sorts of different things, and you're thinking, do you know what? I need a fraternity. I need someone to have someone around me, and I want to embark on a different journey for my next phase of my life. So we're going to talk about that with 2 fantastic individuals that have done that journey and are on it right now. And I'm going to open it up and they can do the introductions to themselves. So I'm joined by Carl and I'm joined by Stephen. So maybe Carl, you could do a quick introduction as to who you are, where you live, what you do, and what you do as a geek. And then Stephen, you can do the same, and then we can get into the discussion for today.
Thank you, James. Carl Elkin, Chief Geek of the Carolinas and Georgia. I am what we call a master geek, so I wear a couple of different hats here. I am responsible for recruiting other great sales geeks like Stephen, who's on the call. But since I love delivering services myself, I'm also wear the sales geek hat, and I'm out trying to build my own business and get clients and service them. I came to Sales Geek 2 weeks ago this week. James and I were just talking
2 years,
about
not 2 weeks.
2 weeks, 2 years ago. I was in the UK doing my onboarding, which we'll talk more about this time. So, but I came to Sales Geek via about 30 years in the corporate world, managing, leading sales teams, sales organizations across all different types of industries.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. We'll dig a little bit into your background in a second, Carl, because one of the things we want to check and see if this resonates with anyone is the kind of backgrounds everyone has, because lots of different geeks come from different parts of the world and different backgrounds. Stephen, tell us a little about yourselves.
Yeah, so I am the sales geek for Alpharetta, the Johns Creek Alpharetta, so it's Metro Atlanta. Clearly my accent doesn't match the flag behind me. I came to America about 8 years ago. Prior to that, I was a corporate sales leader. I have sold everything from tech to logistics to internet safety. And yeah, now about March, I joined Sales Geek, did the onboarding over in Blackburn, and I'm building my business. So,
fantastic. Well, welcome, gentlemen. Thank you very much. And we hope we can provide some insights. So let's just dive a little bit then into those backgrounds and what were the jobs? What were the titles and what were the jobs? What were you doing, I suppose, in that corporate space?
I could jump in. So, I mean, I started like so many other sales leaders as a salesperson. Originally as a retail broker at Lehman Brothers and the now defunct Lehman Brothers and Payne Weber. Did that for a few years, but that really wasn't for me. And ended up going into the media industry as a salesperson, selling different types of media solutions. And so started as a salesperson, and again, like so many other sales leaders, got my managerial start because I was, one of the top producers in my role. And so what does leadership do? They look for, hey, who's the top salesperson? Let's move them into a leadership role. Let's not train them or tell them how to do their job. Let's just throw them in there and hope that it works out. Yeah. And so that's how I started. And my roles have been everything from regional sales manager to publisher, which is, in the media industry, to vice president of sales, senior vice president of sales, managing director, really across the gamut from, running small sales teams to large sales organizations to, even individual businesses.
What's the sort of smallest and largest teams you've sort of managed?
I mean, the smallest teams of just a couple of people, doing $2 or $3 million in total sales to business units that were doing $60, $70 million in revenue.
Fantastic. Amazing. And Stephen, what about you? What were some of the functions and roles you were doing?
Well, similar to Carl, I did not end up as a sales leader for any other reason than I was good at what I was doing. But in my case, it wasn't even sales. Right. I was running operations, and the sales leader for that company, it was an audio conferencing company. So Zoom, way before Zoom. And the sales leader left, and all the salespeople just went, yeah, we don't want the sales position or the sales leadership position because we're doing really great in sales and we don't want that level of responsibility. So they just went, yeah. I kind of took to it like a fish to water and developed that business, took it global. And I have, as I said before, I've sold all sorts of different things. So I've been a sales director, been a managing director of a telecoms company. I've been a regional manager where I launched Otterbox into the UK. So I've done all sorts of different things.
Yeah. Fantastic. So there's a common thread with two things the both of you have just said there, which is, and it's something we see a lot here in the UK, we see it in the US, I know you guys see it with your clients, is there's quite a lot of people out there, isn't there, with the title of head of sales, VP of sales, sales director, global head of sales, whatever those grand titles might be. But for most part, most of them, if not all, I might push a bit of a boundary there. No one's trained to do the job, are they? You inherit the skills, you inherit the knowledge, most of it off the front line based on your skills and your capability. I've been a sales manager, sales director myself, general manager, COO, CEO, all those sorts of great things. No one trained me for a single one of those roles. But you learn it as you go. And that's systemic, I think, in all of industry, of all walks of life. Is that what you see out there?
I mean, that's exactly the same situation I found myself in. In 30 years, I was never enrolled in any type of formal sales training or managerial training, I should say. The closest would be one of the organizations, and this was probably 10 years into my management role, was having my company bring on a personal coach for me, really starting with like the disc profiling and understanding the 360s and all that. And so that was a 6-month program, which is really just more centered about how to make me a better manager and work with people, but not really formal training in that regard. But it's learn as you go, and it's
single swim, absolutely. There's a horrific stat that we have here in the UK that I think translates to the US. So this comes from Forbes, and this was a study done the latter part of 2024 and early part of 2025, that 80% of all people that are promoted from frontline sales into sales management roles will fail in that job inside 2 years. And they fail for 5 principal reasons, the top 2 reasons being they're not supported to the point, no coaching, no development, etc. So internal support. And then they're not trained to do the job. They're not told this is what sales management is. This is how to run, lead, manage, direct, etc. Sales leaders. They make it up as they go along, broadly speaking, read some books, watch some YouTube channels and all the rest of it. And then if they're lucky enough and they wing it enough and dodge the bullets enough, they'll become a sales director and they'll have even more responsibilities on their shoulder. And then they'll still be winging it. And then, eventually, if they do make it, it's great. And if they don't, then it's often the case that they don't make it, which then is the final stat. So 80% of all sales managers fail in the job inside 2 years. Do you know what their average tenure in the USA is for sales directors in situ? There is a stat for that.
It's something ridiculous, like 8 months.
It's 18. It's 18 months. Right? You come in, you're hired, you get the big salary, you get the big numbers, or if maybe not even that, but 18 months is your life expectancy today. And
it's again, very interesting. Sorry, just to
go on.
So there are websites out there, that recruitment websites and recruitment companies that recruit specifically for tech companies that have just got funding. And you see it all the time. They get funding, they get $1 million, $2 million, $3 million of funding. And the first thing they do, no matter how big the organization is, they'll advertise for a head of sales or a VP of sales at $250,000 to $300,000.
Right.
And they're expecting that VP of sales to come in at that level and not only develop the sales plan, develop the company, but also be the boots on the ground.
Yeah.
And that is never going to work.
Yeah. It's a difficult thing. We have the same thing here in the UK, that player manager role, which has been often adopted out of football. So here in the UK, obviously football, proper football, you have player managers, and in the lower leagues, that was very common. You don't have it in the upper league sort of thing, but in the lower leagues, you have these player managers. And I think for some places, there's an element where player management works, But player manager, it's not the sales person. You've got to be the sales developer. You're the coach of the individuals to enable them to be the best that they can be. Your leadership shines because you make others successful. Your leadership does not shine because you do the job for them. That's just a waste of resource at that particular point. So yeah, so it's an interesting stat. And I wonder for anyone watching this, does that resonate with you? Are you someone that's been on that, oh, here we go again, I'm going to have to change and I've got to go and get something else, going to do something else, etc. And I wonder for how many of you listening to what Carl and Stephen are just saying about where your backgrounds are, how many of you have found yourself fed up and at a crossroads? Because that's what's happened to a pair of you, yeah? Yours is 2 years ago, Carl, Stephen, several months ago. But at some point, there was a crossroads. What was that? How did that manifest itself for both of you? And then I suppose within that manifestation, what did you look for? What was the way you were looking to go forward?
I think that over the years I've had some very, very, very good exits where even part of the role that I was brought into was the idea that we've got a company. Sometimes it was established, other times it wasn't, and we've got a window where we want to either go public or just have some sort of transaction, some type of exit. So I've had some very, very, very good exits for me, and I've had some not great unexpected exits as well. And if you've been in the media industry over the last 20 or 30 years, there's been a lot of turmoil in that industry. And so for me, the turning point for me was my last role was I was reorganized out of that role after a couple of big growth years. And I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do at that point, but I knew exactly what I didn't want to do. And that was to go back into a similar role, into that like quarter to quarter lifestyle, where you just don't know if, this coming Friday will be your last Friday, on the job. And I wanted to somehow take more control of my destiny. And how I was going to do that at that moment, I wasn't sure, but I knew that I had to do something different.
Brilliant. What about you, Stephen?
Yeah, I exited companies, and I usually exit companies when I get bored. That's the real thing for me. As I said, the first sales role, we built a very big global organization. And it got to the point where in some cases we'd walk into meetings and the conversation would be, so in a big office building, how many of the other office, how many of the companies that work in this office or are in this office use you? And we would say 11. And the conversation would be, well, it's 12 now. There's no challenge there. It's great to feel that. It's great to earn the money as a sales guy, but there's no challenge. So I've left organizations because of that. I've left organizations because I'm not keen on where the direction of the company is going. Is it about to be bought? Is it owned by a private equity company? In which case, you're sitting there. I'm sure Carl can attest to this. You're sitting there with a private equity company going, well, what decision are going to make next? Yeah. It's just you never know what their end goal is. Is it to get consultants in to take your job? So left jobs for a variety of reasons. When I came over here, it was very interesting because we came over on my wife's work visa, which meant that I didn't have a work permit for about 8 months. So I was out of commission. I was not allowed to work for 8 months. And when I started to go back into to talk to companies, the conversations went very much along the same lines every single time, which was, well, we don't really want to employ you as a sales leader because you've been out of the industry for probably about a year now between the whole transfer over to the US. And I'm like, well, great, I'll be an individual contributor. Well, no, we can't give you a role as an individual contributor because at some point you're going to get a role as a senior person and then you'll leave. So I got stuck in this loop.
Yeah.
So the big thing for me was like, what can I do now? And I've always worked with smaller companies and helped them.
Yeah.
Hence Sales Geek.
Interesting. I mean, that whole private equity, we've got, so there's 65 geeks around the world right now. And I would say a third of them have come here with private equity knowledge and experience. And I myself, same thing as you, Carl, really. And Stephen, I've worked on both sides. I've been part of the PE team that gone into business and taking it over. And one of the first things we would always look at is, let's look at the sales team, let's look at sales leadership. And you make a decision in a heartbeat in that sentence, like, yeah, they're going, and it's really cutthroat stuff. And I've been on the receiving end of it, where the PE teams come in, and I'm like, yikes, I know what's happening here. I'm looking for the handshake, I'm looking for my shares, and can I go? But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed the PE experience, but it's not for everyone, is it? That's for sure. So ultimately, sorry, go on.
Yeah, just I've had multiple PE experiences as well, and again, some good and some interesting, and it's not the funnest experience when your PE partners start sending in their recent MBA bean counters into your sales meetings, who don't know anything about the industry or sales or anything. They're literally just there with their laptops and their spreadsheets and trying to make strategy recommendations. That was awesome.
Yeah, I remember years ago the yardstick for that sort of playbook was McKinsey. So I was working for a big telecoms company at the time, and we had McKinsey come in, and they had literally that. It was graduates and students coming in with laptops, with Excel spreadsheets and PowerPoints, telling us how to do the strategy. And I absolutely wanted to belt them out of the room. I really did. It just, nothing more insulting of it. And they just did not know what they were doing. And still to this day, I work here in the UK. I do work with organizations that have McKinsey structures. It has not changed today to what it was 20 to 30 years ago. How these companies are surviving, it baffles me. But anyway, I don't want to get into an assault on some of these consultancy companies, because some of them are very good, not all of them though. So you were looking for something else. You knew you weren't going to go back and do that. And that's a really important point, I think, Carl, for, again, if you're thinking of this, if you're thinking of a journey into franchise, if you're thinking in a journey to join Sales Geek, something you really do have to be clear about. And I think all geeks, we say this to everyone that comes through the door, you've got to be sure that going backwards isn't the thing for you. And if you have in your mindset that you could do the corporate gig again, go do the corporate gig. Franchising, whether you're doing this with us, doing it with anybody else, or starting your own business on your own, not a franchise at all, you're doing it because you have realized you're not doing that other thing ever again, because you will need the motivation. Business is tough. The economy is tough. It's tough for you in the US right now. You've got a bit of a lockdown going on in your governmental departments. We've got the UK, and we've got a government that doesn't quite know what it's up to, and we're about to have a budget here, depending on when you're watching this video. So there's a lot of chaos going on all around. So uncertainty breeds everything, which means that small business owners, you two here, me, we're a business owner ourselves. And for anyone you thinking you could join this, you've got to be single-minded about what you're going to do, why you're going to do it, and then build a plan to go do that. What franchising gives you the opportunity to do is to have a support mechanism around you to give you a leg up and get going, and give you some help when you're struggling along the journey, should you find yourself to struggle along that journey. And that's the key thing. So if you're someone watching this right now, listening to these two gentlemen's journey, and you're thinking, yeah, I'm stuck somewhere, I may be about to go round a roundabout, but I definitely know I don't want to go backwards, then maybe it's worth a call for you. So that's that little bit. So you looked out, you're here, Sales Geek, yay, we were excellent. But did you look at anything else? Were you looking at different things? Were you considering doing it yourselves, different things? Well, I suppose what I'm trying to get to is, how did you say Geek is the journey for me?
Well, for me, the very first day that I found myself looking for something else, I did what probably a lot of people do. I went to LinkedIn and just started trolling LinkedIn, and I came across the Sales Geek ads that first day, and it sounded really interesting. And I reached out to you, James, right away, and began a long conversation, and Richard as well, the founder. And while I was chatting with you guys, I was looking at lots of different things, because I really didn't know. I was looking at individual contributor roles to get out at least the stress of management, from anything from media to security systems to insurance to, managing little stores here instead. I mean, I looked at lots of different things, everything, because I really didn't know. I was even going to sell like cutlery at trade shows, like one of those little businesses. I mean, everything. And I'd been looking for about 3 months, and we're coming up on another onboarding, which we do every other month.
Yeah.
And I had to make a decision if I was going to make it to the November one, because if I was going to do this, I didn't want to wait another couple of months. And so I asked my wife, like, what do I do? Like, what are we going to do? And this is a true story. She said, I don't know, whatever your decision is, fully support you. If it's Sales Geek, that's great. She said, but the day she came home from work, the first day I was looking, I allegedly came running from my office to see her. That's urban legend, whether I was walking or running, not sure. But apparently I told her, I think I found what I wanted to do the rest of my life, and it was Sales Geek. And I looked at her, I was like, dang, that happened. I said that, didn't I? And so I knew it was Sales Geek literally that first day. And I spent 3 months trying to eliminate everything else in my mind to make me feel good about making the right decision. And that night I sent you and Richard an email saying I'm in. And 10 days later, I was in the UK on onboarding. But it was a long path of process of elimination and making sure that it was the right decision for me. But in my heart, I knew it was the moment I kind of saw Sales Geek.
That's a lovely story. I like that one. I know you've said bits of that before. I didn't know the full extent of that. And selling cutlery, I think there's something in that. I think my wife buys a fair amount of that stuff, so I think there's definitely something in that. Stephen, how about you? How did you find us as opposed to something else?
I was doing some content writing for tech firms. I really enjoy that. Obviously, there's a bit of an AI issue with that now, so I'm glad I got out of that. But I was thinking that this isn't a long-term career. I enjoy it, but it's not something I can do long-term. So I started thinking to myself, what am I really good at? What have I really enjoyed over the past 10 years? Is it the corporate sales? I'm good at corporate sales. I'm good at corporate sales management. Do I really want to get into that again? Do I want to get on a plane again? I spent probably 3 years of my life on planes, flying here, there, and everywhere. And it sounds romantic. And after 6 months, it's no longer romantic. It's like getting on a bus or a tube. So I looked around and I thought, well, maybe sales consultancy would be a good thing, because I've always done that on the side, helping friends and family and small businesses for my neighbors. So how can I do that on a scale that would allow me to build a career? And I just jumped on Google and Googled sales consultancy businesses. Sales Geek came up. I went to LinkedIn, had a look on LinkedIn, and I saw that Brian Ewing, who's the master sales geek over in Colorado, was a sales geek. And Brian and I worked together 15 years ago. Yeah. So at Otterbox. So I jumped on a call with him. We had a good couple of conversations, and what he was saying, it just sounded absolutely fantastic. So again, like Carl, had a chat with yourself and with Richard, and was absolutely sold.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, I forgot that, and I remember that story being told, and I completely forgot you guys knew each other way back. I mean, Brian's living his best life again at the moment. He's just added Texas to his territories as well, so he's having a right old time. Interesting, right? So you found yourselves here. Now you're in Geek. What happened to you? What for someone who's thinking, this story's resonating. Yeah, I'm at a crossroads. Yeah, I don't want to go backwards. Yeah, I'm going to look around. Yeah, I like the sound of Geek. Let's say they all go. And by the way, if you are looking at this and you're looking at this in the territories of North and South Carolina and Georgia, these are your dudes that you're going to have to reach out to and have a little chat. But let's say you say yes. Let's say you're going to do it. What happened to you guys? Fly over here. Tell us the story about Blackburn. I'll tell you if that's a good story.
Yeah. The onboarding was tremendous. For me, for most geeks, it's 2 weeks. It's a week. For me, it was 2 weeks because I was also doing the master part of it. But it really was an amazing experience. And I have to say that the moment that I walked through the doors on Monday morning, I felt like I was in the right place. Like you just had that warm feeling like I made the right decision. And just everybody there that was so welcoming. But it was just great opportunity to meet everybody on the team. And I onboarded with 4 or 5 other folks that were from the US and also a couple from the UK that were there. And just we didn't really learn about products and services that first week. It was really more about what is it to be a sales geek and how do you build your business and how do you conduct yourself, and really introduction into kind of a new sales approach,
Yeah.
and what are the things that you have to do to be successful? You know, how do you network correctly? Something that I've never really loved doing, but it's all about getting into your local business communities and getting people to know, like, and trust you, so that hopefully they can become clients. But I thought that week of onboarding, especially the first week, it's just such a great experience because it brings everything at home. Because you're just like me and I think every other geek, you're at home doing all of this. And so to meet the whole team and to understand that while you're physically alone in your office, when you go back, you're really not alone because you've got all those geeks around the world and the team in Blackburn that can help you. And that's what that whole week is really about, is coming back from that onboarding first day, Monday morning in the office. It answers the question of, what do I do now?
Yeah.
You've got that roadmap, that blueprint for exactly what you have to do.
Yeah, definitely. How about you, Steve? What was your journey like? What was Blackburn like for you? We'll get into the food and drink in a minute because there's a fair amount of that.
The best.
Not my favorite part.
I think it was.
So my trip to Blackburn was actually my first trip back to the UK in 8 years.
Nice.
First time I'd ever gone back since we moved to America. So that was interesting in itself. But I think what really resonated with me was the camaraderie, the feeling of, as you know, as Carl said, it's a feeling of family almost. It feels right. So all of us have been in a corporate environment, and that corporate environment, we've had the support behind us. There's a little bit of trepidation coming into being a franchisee and sort of having to build your own business and go out there and do it. Even if, you know, I've built my own businesses before, but it's been with people in the office next to me doing something that I absolutely know, you know, a tech company, for example. Whereas this is very much, okay, I'm out here on my own. What do I do now? And that week in Blackburn changes that mindset completely. You suddenly go, I'm not alone. The support function behind me is fantastic, from marketing through to all the stuff that the tools and products that are produced by yourself. James, you know, it's you get that feeling of, this is going to be a success because I've got people behind me wanting it to be a success, wanting me to be the success.
Yeah, and that's a really important part. I think, you know, Sales Geek, if you go and visit our website and you watch other videos about what it is we do and all that sort of stuff, so we're not getting into the products today, come and see other videos about all of that sort of stuff. You'll see Carl and Stephen and other geeks talking about what we do for clients on other videos. So please do go and see those. But the key to anything is success. And our job at HQ and our job as a leadership team and everyone that operates here, and there's quite a few of them in today actually, is to support the network. We've got geeks in the UK, obviously. We have geeks across the US. We have geeks in India. We have geeks in, and I think you might know this, I'm not sure if you do, but we have geeks in, are you ready for this one? Mongolia. Who knew? Who knew that Mongolia was a country that said, yeah, we need a bit of that over here? So the master territory was sold, and we're actually out in India in a few days' time to train the Mongolia team. We're in Malaysia, we're in Singapore. We're about to go further field than that as well. I can't, at this point of this video, I can't tell you what those are because we're just finishing contracting. So it's becoming a bit of a global phenomenon, but the core tenet of what we do and the support we provide is the same. Products and services are the same. The language might change. The narrative of why people joined us is broadly the same. If I speak to the Mongolian guys and I said to them, why do you want to be geeks? Their story was the same as yours. It was slightly in a different language, and we had to have a translator on the call, but it was the same story. It was exactly the same story. And also what they had, which is something I think we see as a lot with geeks around the world, is they had a passion to want to do something back to their communities, back to their world. Sales Geek as a mission statement has changed the way the world perceives sales. We do that through a number of ways of doing that, through our products and services and things that we do. But ultimately, here's some nice stats, and I think you guys know this, but for those of you watching the video, at the time of recording anyway, because these stats constantly go up for every new geek we get joining us, but right now there's over 1,500 years of combined leadership and experience in Sales Geek across 65 geeks across 12 countries and 3 continents. So we know a thing or two. We have managed over 36,000 people. We have managed over $47 billion of revenue between us all. We have generated $15 billion of new revenue for our companies combined over the years that we've worked with them all. And we've opened up 3,000 new markets, delivered 1,000 plus new products. And we've worked from the smallest of companies, the mediumest of companies, and the largest of companies. So between all of us, we know a thing or two about sales, sales operations, sales leadership, and sales delivery. And that reflects, I think, not only out to our client base, but also to you, the franchise network. And as when you join, you've got that experience. You guys, as you know, you've got the community, you can go onto WhatsApp groups, and I know sometimes you do, and you ask opinions and you ask questions. You know, has anyone done this? Has anyone done that? And there's always someone out there. It's mostly Lisa Ansell, if you're watching, that's got the answer. But someone's always got an answer to help support the franchise network. So support is very important to us to ensure everyone is successful as they want to be. It's a them thing for sure. So thank you for that. So there was a fair amount of drink as well, was there not? And a bit of food.
The food and the drink experience, especially the food experience, was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm down in North Carolina, and we've got like some good food, but you can't get good Indian and Turkish food, you know, here in Southport, North Carolina, like you can in Blackburn. That was every night. It was a different
night. Yeah.
Experience.
And that's important, right? I think, you know, if you've got a decent amount of, whether alcohol is your thing or not, and you've got a decent amount of good food in you, then life is always a little bit more pleasant. The thing we always notice when onboarding, as Carl rightly said, we onboard every other month. So they start in January and then every other month from there. We always tend to put on a couple of pounds through onboarding week because we're out every night and every afternoon. It's quite the experience. But anyway, so that's that. So you're on board, get some support as well. Talk about the products and services for me. What is it you're out there in the community doing? What are you solving for people? What's going on in your world?
So for me, I've been doing some sales training, a little bit of mentoring, but most of the work I've been doing is acting as a fractional sales director, you know, at different levels with different types of companies.
Cool. Stephen, what are you up to at the moment?
Much the same. So it's the fractional sales leadership. It's being embedded and working directly to help businesses mold their sales team, train their sales team, make sure their sales team is doing what their sales team should be doing.
Yeah, the should be doing bit is always the interesting one. And I think that speaks a lot to industry. We see this a lot in the UK, and I think there's some really good stats in the US that support this as well. If we go back up to almost the top of this call, really, which says the average tenure of a sales director in any business is sort of 18 months. So there's a churn to that. And that churn comes in 2 ways, right? And you guys have experienced both of this. I certainly have. You've got the churn where it's you were churned, and you've got the churn where you are the churnee because you have decided it's time to move on. You know, especially in private equity. I've spun several companies in the past, earned my decent share out of it, doffed my cap accordingly, took the king shilling, and away I went. So, you know, that happens, but that creates levels of uncertainty. But and out for industry, if you look at industry at the moment, let me ask you guys a quick question, and I'll put the narrative to this. How many businesses are in the US right now registered? Anyone know?
Oh,
no. The question, I would ask the question, how many businesses that are currently active?
Yeah, so
because there's a lot of businesses in the UK that are just sitting there doing things.
True. So active and so not active. I don't know the active bit, but registered. So therefore, they're paying a tax. So this is not unregistered businesses. There's way more when you come to unregistered, right? Mm-hmm. So it's 33.9 million businesses in the US, and that is projected to grow to 45 billion by the end of 2030. All right, so it's a massive growth number that's been established. So that's your big number. Now in the UK, for a comparison, if anyone's interested, there are 5.5 million businesses registered. Doesn't account for all the unregistered stuff. How many of those registered businesses are under 30 employees?
90%.
99.16%.
Wow.
99.16 of 33.9 million businesses are under 50 employees. Right?
That makes
Absolutely
sense. That's
stonking.
what we see. And around here, so many of the businesses are still founder run.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. And we're the same, right? Rich, my counterpart, wherever he's gone, sat over there now, he's founder run business. He gets out there, does a bit of delivery, does the stuff that he does, but runs his business. I run the business as well, but founder run. And so many businesses are founder run, and not every founder is trained, developed, and understand. But what every founder wants is a senior seasoned sales leader, ideally in their business, to impart their knowledge, their skills, what people would give to give your combined gray matters of experience and lessons learned. And what I always say to companies, it's not, I think the power of getting Carl and Stephen in your business is not what they know. It's what they've learned on their journey in the last 10, 20, 30 years, combined with the 1,400, 1,500 years of everybody else's learning here in Geek, that you can cram that into your business to give it a bit of a kickstart, a bit of a rocket to go in the right direction, because so many companies want that but can't afford it. They can't afford 100, 200, 300, 400 grand a year to get the likes of you guys in. But through Geek, you can reach out, get you guys on a fractional basis. And that's a powerful story, and it gives a lot of businesses a bit of hope that they can go and talk to the right person. Ultimately, you still got to talk to the right person, but as long as they get this caliber of individual into the business, then they have a better than average chance of success at the end of the day, because
You're so right.
Leverage that experience. Yeah,
and it works on every level.
It does, yes.
Because I've been in so many organizations and sales organizations, I've seen so many different commission structures, for example.
Yeah.
I know what works, what doesn't work. So I had a conversation with a potential client on Tuesday who his sales team has a commission plan where they get paid even if they're not hitting 50% of their target. They still get paid their commission. The conversation is, well, why aren't they out there selling to hit their numbers? Why aren't they motivated? Well, paying them anyway. Yeah. But I see that regularly. Again, it's because the people running the sales teams, founders, owners, or operations managers who've been given that role, and they don't know any different.
Yeah, it's true. That is true. I think that's a really good sentiment. That is, they don't know any different, and it's the same as we see. Carl, you mentioned we're doing some mentoring. So there's 12 products or services. Like I say, go see the other videos. But chief amongst which is your sales director, but mentoring is a core aspect of what we do, and assisting and working alongside emerging, developing leaders to shape their thought, their mindset, their narratives, their capability is a core principle to the things that we do. And then obviously all the training that sits behind it. Let me ask you a quick question. What's been some of the fun stuff you've done?
I think every account that I'm working with is fun, quite honestly. It's one of the reasons that I've done this. I think, and every geek could probably say the same thing. We've had big jobs along the way, and we've made good money ourselves, and we've certainly made our companies a lot of money.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what does it matter? What does it really matter? What difference have you really made? And so, when we go and we work on these smaller companies in our local business communities, what we see quite often happens is they've identified some sort of problem that they have. They've tried to fix it. They don't know how, like we talked about. And so by the time they get to us, they've got a situation brewing, and we can come in as a sales geek, and quite often we can be the difference between success and failure. And so that's really making a difference. When you can go into a company that might be teetering and help them keep the lights on and grow the business. And that means that everybody who works there can also pay their bills, and they can hire more people that you're making a tangible difference in the community. And I don't care what company is, that's more than fun. It's fulfilling. It's why I became a geek, and every company is like that.
Beautiful. Very philosophical. I like that. Stephen, what's some of the fun things you did, or doing rather?
It's the variety for me. I think when you're in a corporate sales role, you're generally focusing on one particular market, one particular industry, one particular vertical within that industry. And is great from a sales perspective, but can get pretty boring pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Whereas the sales geek, if I hold a sales club, and I invite the community to come along and I'm presenting to them and then we're having chats, we realize that there's plumbers here, there's IT guys here, there's window cleaners here, there's home maintenance companies, there's lawyers, there's every possible industry, every possible company, and every possible type of person. You just get to meet so many fantastic people.
Yeah, it's true. I think that the people aspect of it, isn't it? People's passion runs deep and wide into what interests them. Like, I know you're like a jet. Is it one of the jet wash? Is it your car that you're doing a jet washing company? Is that yours?
Yes. Yep. Home
jet
service.
Washing, right. So who knew jet washing was a passion for somebody? But it's a passion, and fair play. I get it. I do like it occasionally. With the one time in the summer that we get a week of a sunshine, and my wife says, "Here's the Karcher. Stick your earpods in. Go do." I love it. Leave myself in it. But you work with such variety of businesses, from the smallest of the small, vets, private, like say private equity. So there's professional services, construction. We work with defense, healthcare, medtech. There isn't an industry that we've not been across or been inside in the last 8 years. We've been doing this role across the world, and it's going to be fascinating to see what businesses we're in Mongolia and India and other places that we're finding ourselves in. So there's some fun sides to it. There's all sorts of different things, but obviously you guys joined. We talked a little bit about the support. We know a little bit about products and services, as I say, see those videos, but you've got to have a plan, right? You've got to decide, what does 2026 hold? We live in reasonably uncertain times between our incompetent government and the challenges you guys face, depending on how you see that world. You've got to build yourself a plan for 2026. So for you two, what's the ambition? What's the idea for 2026 for you two?
I can jump in. So I think, again, I have kind of a two-pronged plan. So first is doing a lot more recruiting and finding more great geeks like Steven across the Carolinas and Georgia. And so that's an important part of my business. But no matter how many franchisees that I've gotten in each of the states, I always want to be delivering services. I think that's what I love doing, and I want to keep doing that. So my plan is really not changed that much. It's getting out in the community as much as I can and meeting people and getting people to know, like, and trust me, and spread the word of Sales Geek, and continue to build my client base. And now, after a couple of years, when I'm out in the market, I'm not just talking about what I can do. Now I have the opportunity to talk about what I have done. And how I've helped companies save money, grow their business, add products, all of those things. And so those conversations are very different when you're just talking about what hypothetically how I can help you to. I've done this at this company and this at that company, and as you would say, would you like a little piece of that? And so exactly. That's what the goal is for 2026.
Perfect. Steven, what about you for 2026?
My goal is to work with a lot of smaller businesses. So I think that the product mix is fantastic. The company mix that you can work with. So you've got a certain size company that where YSD, so your sales director, the embedded fractional sales director, works really well. But then we're out talking to so many organizations in our community that may be 1, 2, 3-man bands, but they still need help. The photographers out there, the plumbers out there.
Yeah.
And it's working with those, finding a way to work with those small organizations on a budget that works for them on a regular basis, alongside the fractional side of things.
Yeah, and I think that's that's an important part, especially as we move into the world of more advanced things around AI. We see a lot more companies coming to the likes of Geek to say, the world of AI is tapping on my door. I don't know what to do. Don't know how to embrace it. I don't know whether I should embrace it, use it, not use it, etc. And I think given our experience, our knowledge, and the fact that we're working with so many sectors now, so many markets, and we're getting experience collectively between the guys here, myself. I've been here 8 years and I still do delivery. I'm working with a client right now, a company called Anchor Magnets. They sell magnets.
Somebody's got to.
Yep.
Somebody has. And they're very passionate about magnets, and fair play. It's the kind of magnets that you do on display screens. So if you go into a store and there's like you guys got a banner behind you, it might have magnets behind it, and it sticks on that kind of stuff. But the same thing, they're challenged with AI right now, right? Is how does AI fit into the business? How do these new emerging technologies and markets and things and these new emerging ways to adapt to the space? How does that fit to their world? And Sales Geek is ideally primed to assist most organizations around the world with that, because we're currently sort of drenched in it, if that's an appropriate word, around between the UK and the US and India right now, with all sorts of organizations embracing that stuff. So we learn it as we go along, as much as we are driving the market and that sort of side of things. So last question I've got for you, we'll round it up for today. If you could, someone watching this thinks, yeah, this might be a thing. This could be. I'm going to ring Carl. I'm going to ring Steve. I'm going to have a chat about it. What's some advice you might give, or even a lesson you've learned?
We talked a little bit about it earlier on, is, what really dig deep into yourself and think about what your passion is and how you envision the rest of your life and your career going. What is that mix of time with friends and family and work? Stephen talked about planes, trains, and automobiles. I mean, for most of my career, same thing. I was on the road 30 to 60% of the time away from families. Missed a lot of great stuff. And so is that important to you, or how important is it to you? And with Sales Geek, you have the opportunity to build your own schedule and decide where you are and when you're doing it. And, for me, that was a huge part of my decision, is the ability to finally get to be with the community, spend more time with the family. In addition to being a geek, I'm serving on multiple, local board of directors, like to just help out in the community. It's like I'm doing all the stuff I never always wanted to, thought I wanted to, had no idea how fulfilling it actually is. And now I can do that. And you'd never be able to do that with a full-time role. At the same time, you have to be honest with yourself. You are building a business, right? I've never, Stephen, you've owned business before. I never had. So that comes with a whole separate, set of challenges. And it's, you're the only person, that can fire me now is my wife, I guess, right? But those are separate challenges of building your own business. And this isn't to say there aren't sleepless nights. There are, but what you get out of it in the back end is just so much more rewarding, personally, than anything I've ever done before. So you just have to be honest with yourself and understand what you want, and if this is the right choice for you.
Yeah, good. What about you, Stephen?
I would say be ready to learn.
Yeah.
You come into this thinking, I know everything about businesses. Now, I've run my own businesses. I've run big sales teams. I've run huge operations teams. I've run bars. I've done lots and lots of different things. I know my stuff. And then all of a sudden, there's the stuff I really need to learn. The biggest thing for me was the networking.
Yeah. In
corporate sales, when you're out networking, you're looking around going, who can I sell to?
Yeah.
They might be a client. They might be a client. They might be a client. Whereas in this environment, it's different. It's who can I sell through?
Yes.
How can I get referrals? How can I get this person to trust me enough to go out to their clients and tell them about me? And that was a big mindset shift for me.
Yeah, good. It's interesting, and I think that that whole learning and getting into the mindset of a small business owner, which you'll both be. So should you decide that this is something for you and you want to reach out and speak to Carl or reach Stephen, there's two options for you at the point of this video is made anyway. You can come into this grand term called a scale up and own a large territory, which is created for you by Carl, and you own a large chunk of your local area. Or you can be a solo, and a solo gives you the ability to sort of straddle both worlds. You could be a part-time geek and also still hold a full-time job. So you're gonna segue into franchising if that's something you want to look at. But Carl's your man, Stephen's your man to have a chat to about that. But you've got to have that mindset, right? You are a business owner, and with business ownership comes responsibility. With great responsibility or great power comes great responsibility, something like that, isn't it? Is that Spider-Man? Can't remember. But you've got to think that. So if you have that mindset, if you have a passion that you don't want to do something else, you don't want to go backwards, whatever backwards looks like for you, you want to carve yourself something different for 2026 and beyond. If you want to have a passion to help and support your community, if you think you know a thing or two about sales, don't worry, we will teach you all the things that you don't think you know about sales. Then maybe a chat with Carl and a chat with Stephen or a chat with myself or any of the geeks is the thing for you. And who knows, 2026 and beyond, franchising and doing something a bit different for yourself in your region could be a career change. Who knows? Anyway, we're going to have to nail it there because we like to be these things inside sort of like 50 odd minutes, because otherwise people are like, oh my God, are these guys ever going to shut up? But my name's James and I am the COO here at Sales Geek. You can reach out on LinkedIn, connect with me, love to do so. I can ask any questions you like. Please do reach out and speak to Carl Elkin, and also speak to Stephen Davies. These guys in the local areas. Drop us an email. We'll put you in touch with them at any time you like. Watch out for other videos as well that we've got where both of these good gentlemen were back on, and we were talking about what actually we do for clients. So the kinds of the problems we solve, what we're doing when we're in a business itself, the kind of things that we do for trainings, part-time sales directors, learn a thing or two about what you might be doing out there in the field. But as I say, if a change of mindset is for you, change your heart, change your direction, Sales Geek could have been a thing for you. I hope you've enjoyed the session today, and we'll see you maybe soon. If I could just ask my guests to hang on. It's been nice to see you all. Carl, Stephen, thank you very much. Do you want to say goodbye?
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for watching.
And we'll see you soon. Thanks very much.